Hello, and welcome back to the Wild Violet Healing Podcast. I'm Erin, and in this On and Off the Mat episode, we are looking at Satya, the second Yama in the eight-limbed path of Raja Yoga. Quick recap. The eight-limbed path was explained in the ancient text, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. This was an 8-step action plan that could bring the practitioner to enlightenment. The first step, or first limb, is the Yamas, which are the ethical principles of how the individual interacts with the world. In my previous episode, I discussed the first Yama, ahimsa, which means non-harming. Today, we are talking about the second Yama, Satya, which means truthfulness. Satya means more than just not telling lies to someone. It is also about being truthful to yourself, of maintaining your integrity in your life, how you interact with others, and the world at large. This Yama digs into the prevalence of distorting how we present ourselves to people in our lives. Maybe there are only a few pieces of your shelf that you show at work, or you keep a few aspects hidden in certain friend groups. When a person acts charismatic and friendly in public, but retreats to be cold and aloof at home. As a neurodivergent, this Yama directly speaks to the act of masking. That is, when you take on certain behaviors and speech patterns in an attempt to be liked or at least safe in public, work, school, even with some friends. Or when you fight your natural instincts to stim, interrupt conversations, express yourself authentically. Masking is detrimental to our physical and mental health, as well as our self-esteem, nervous system regulation, and overall contentment or happiness in our lives. It can also be taken to the extreme of burnout, collapse, and manifest as a variety of health problems. Isolation, depression, anxiety, severe stress, all these can be the result of masking. But when you begin the process of unmasking, you practice Satya. You slowly allow yourself to be yourself in settings with other people. My deepest hope for you as you do this work is that you will be in a safe place, or that those settings and people will prove to be safe. But I know this isn't always the case, which leads to tough decisions. Is that friend an authentic friend if you have to mask around them? Is that job worth your physical, mental, and emotional health if it is keeping you in burnout due to masking requirements? Do you feel like yourself? Or, and I ask this from a deeply compassionate place, do you know who you are? This is part of the journey for many practicing Satya, in learning how to answer honestly, truthfully to yourself. Let's shift out of the masking conversation now and look at another way this can appear in people. The nice people. Many of us as children, particularly if you were raised as a girl, were taught to be nice. Play nicely, speak nicely, get along with everyone. Be nice to adults, be nice to friends and strangers. Nice, nice, nice. Well, how many of you have had to bite your tongue in order to be nice? Can you think of a time when someone was being a jerk to you, but you let it go in order to be nice? How many bullies take advantage of the appearance of niceness to fool adults and others when they are really doling out trauma? The two-faced person who is nice to your face but is undermining you behind your back. Whether you have experienced that person or you have done any of this yourself, this is not truth. This is not honesty. Satya invites us to be real instead of nice or pleasant, to be authentic in our conversations with people. They may not like that honesty, but that is more a reflection on them and the inner work they need to do than it is anything you may say. And by being honest, you become a trustworthy person. How many of you can say with no doubts that your circle of people never lie to you? This question isn't meant to make you uncomfortable with them, but to bring awareness. and to invite you to be the person in your circle who is honest, who is trustworthy. It invites a deeper, more authentic relationship with others. Now, I would like to take a moment to discuss why this yama is second and not ahimsa, non harming. Sometimes the truth stings, but lying and it being found out later hurts more. And sometimes being honest can be taken too far, to the point that it is harming another person. That is why ahimsa comes first. If it comes to a choice between keeping someone from harm or telling a lie, yogic philosophy nudges us toward avoiding harm, but it isn't giving permission for lying. Maybe a better way to put this is, in a conversation with someone, it is more okay to stay silent and be kind, not nice, than to push a hurtful truth forward that isn't necessary. That is more what I'm trying to say. If you are speaking with a coworker and you don't like how their shirt fits, but you guys are talking about lunch plans, you don't need to speak up about their shirt. Mind your business, check your thoughts, and move on with kindness. That would be an invitation also to examine why you are judging how their shirt fits and even considering telling them. Another place to practice this is when someone has expressed themselves creatively and asked for your opinion. Please don't lie to them to spare their feelings. You can be gentle with your truthful answer and preserve the relationship between the two of you. Just tearing into them by dumping all your raw, honest opinions is not practicing ahimsa and satya. You are just being rude and hurtful. This is the place where you learn to give supportive, constructive criticism without letting it be an excuse to be hurtful, like the way your unfeeling boss abused being truthful. This is the way you support a child in their effort, even if the result or product doesn't match what a proficient adult could do. Don't default to lying to be nice. Be the person that others can expect to be honest, supportive, and helpful. Here are a couple more normal occurrences where you can begin to view as places to practice satya. When a friend or partner asks what you want to eat, instead of saying whatever or I don't care, challenge yourself to give an answer. The person asking should be a safe person who genuinely wants you to be able to eat something you like. When someone asks you to help them with something, this could be volunteering, being added, or taking over a project at work, doing the chore your spouse asks about. Be honest with yourself, your energy, your time, and your desires. I know the main message that is going around now is to learn to say no. And if you are overscheduled, if you are lacking sleep, if you are bringing work home already, if your family priorities are already too much or almost too much for you to handle, the practice here is to say no. But I am inviting you to take a moment and look honestly. Are you saying no to helping your spouse because you don't want to, or because it is actually not in your capacity? Are you afraid to take on something bigger, a space or role that you could grow into that would require changes but would be for the good of all? Have you been falsely told something all your life and have been blindly playing out that pattern instead of evaluating that belief honestly and moving past it into greater alignment? One powerful result of living our truth is the life that we have the freedom to create. Can you imagine the peace and centeredness of living honestly? Of a job that is aligned and doesn't drain you because it is what you want to do and you can be yourself as you do it? Of having a partner that you don't need to watch your words or quirks around so that you can rest when you are home in that space and in that person? a person that, due to mutual honesty, respect, and love, you have a deep, healthy relationship with. Of having the freedom to pursue your passions outside of work, of taking part in a hobby that brings you joy, of being able to easily refill your cup because the options are actually open to you, of getting what you want out of life because you are truthful with yourself and those around you about your dreams. This isn't the easy path. It takes work, sitting in discomfort, and inner healing. But this is the potential reward of practicing Satya, of practicing truthfulness. I hope this episode has given you a better understanding of truthfulness and how it can play out in your life. Let me know in the comments where you want to try first being truthful in your life. If this has been helpful, please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. I appreciate your time with me today, and I will see you in the next episode. Blessings.